Welcome everyone to this GSMA session on how you can develop a new breed of applications. I'm 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗶𝟐 from the GSMA, and I'm joined here with 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 from Microsoft, 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 from Telefonica, and 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 from Deutsche Telekom. Welcome everyone. Just like the cloud infrastructure providers, where you can actually program storage, or you can program compute power. It will be as simple as just turning on these capabilities from the networks. So far, we've had around about 250 operators sign an MOU. But what we've also done is said that what we need is the major operators in each market around the world to start to align the APIs that they're exposing. And we see in blue here the market launches that have actually got 3 or more operators exposing APIs for your use. In green, we can see the markets that are coming very shortly in market alignment, and they've at least launched APIs through 1 or 2 of the operators there. There's a QR code that you can actually go to actually see the progress and actually understand which APIs are available. And how are we doing this? We're coming together not only as the GSMA, which is the Association of Mobile Operators around the world, but also in partnership with the Linux Foundation, who have created 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀. Also, we're working with the TM Forum, and the TM Forum helps you developers be able to provision and program the networks so you can actually consume the service APIs exposed by 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀. Now, we're doing this not by documents, we're specifying this by code and actually having practical implementations of these services around the world. So pretty exciting on what's happening, but there's more. We are working with key channel partners around the world to bring these services together. So it's even more simple for developers to actually be able to consume and program networks in the future. And really, especially for this, Azure Programmable Connectivity from Microsoft is actually bringing together operators around the world so you can have this availability. So I'm going to hand over now to 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 from Microsoft, who's going to tell us about this and how it's happening. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Henry. So wow, what a pleasure to be here with all of you, with Henry, David, and Peter. And this is, I think, the culmination of a multi-year effort that we've been partnering since the very inception of this vision of Open Gateway, right? So not only myself, but also Microsoft has been part of this effort since the very beginning, and that allowed us to go with GSMA and multiple operators in this journey hand by hand, right? So a year ago, as you mentioned, Henry, we were able to announce the first cloud that announced a full service supporting this initiative as part of Azure, and we call it Azure Programmable Connectivity. And then just a few months ago, in the latest Mobile World Congress, we also announced the first public preview now for every customer who can now use these APIs directly in their applications. So their vision, you already said very well that vision, Henry, but at the end of the day, our role, what we want to achieve supporting this initiative from Microsoft, is to connect developers who are willing to create this new modern connected application that can be network aware, that can leverage the power of the most modern networks that are now provided by operators with the operators themselves, right? That they want to provide access to those APIs in a way that can be accessible from developers. So that in the middle is where we see Azure providing a first-class citizen as part of any other Azure service. So it's completely transparent, just the same way that you would use any AI service, any compute service in Azure. Now you can also use network services that are exposing these advanced capabilities of providers, right? So how does it work? So what we're doing behind the scenes is providing 3 big capabilities. The first one, which is pretty obvious, is that unified abstraction that is part of Azure Programmable Connectivity. So no longer you need to speak the language of every single operator that you are targeting in every single country that your application works. Now you can just target one unified abstraction that is done in partnership, of course, with the 𝗦𝗲𝗀 initiative that Microsoft is also part of, as you mentioned, Henry. And then on top of that, we take care of all the plumbing of integrating and translating that unified abstraction to each of the operators that are joining this initiative, right? So that combined approach is what allows us to provide a developer support, a developer platform that can elevate the experience for developers and that can provide a productive environment. Again, just like any other service in Azure, no difference there, right? So just to show how it works directly in a super quick demo, but this is just a screenshot for APC, no difference with any other API in Azure. But you can see that in this case, let me pick just one example, the SIM swap service. I can click directly the country that I want to deploy. I can select the operators that I want to get access to. And with that, the service is done. So now I can use that service. I can go back. I can add any other country with as many operators as I want. Once I do that, now I can use this service like any other service in Azure, but across all those different countries and operators. In this case, to get access to this service, SIM swap, but it can be any other. So an application that uses that, let's see this in action with a quick demo too, right? So now I'm a developer who's using those apps, those APIs directly from my application. In this case, let's imagine that I'm creating a loan application. So this is for a bank to get loan requests from their customer. So you see that the first thing that this app is asking me is my location. So where am I residing, right? I can easily lie in here. So I can say a different country. And you know that the GPS in a device can be easily faked. So any application cannot rely on the GPS location. Actually, in this demo, we have the capability to hack that GPS location. And if you do that and you pick a different country than the one that you are operating, the system is going to be able to identify that without the use of GPS, just by the location provided by the antennas in the operator. So that's an example of an advanced service that an application developer can use to provide more security. This is just one example. If you want to get started, you can access today to the public preview. So it's already available as part of Azure and is ready for you to create amazing new applications with it. Thank you. Henry, back to you.
Thanks a lot, David. Super clear, super simple for developers, just what we need to actually accelerate the adoption of programmable networks and programmable connectivity. Let's hear from some operators now about how they've been thinking about exposing network capabilities and making programmable connectivity. So let me welcome 𝗦𝗲𝗶𝗸𝗁 from Deutsche Telekom. Deutsche Telekom are a founding member of 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀. And also, you've been doing some work in Germany and also in the US as well, Peter. Welcome.
Yeah, Henry, thanks a lot. If I look at the telco industry, I mean, let's face it, we had been quite protective when it came to our network and the information from our network, but this radically has changed. And like IT 10, 15 years ago, when Azure was introduced, when we saw that disaggregation of IT functions, this is now happening also in the telco industry. It took us a little longer, but here we are. And we are offering information from our network, but also functionality out of our network. So you can actually configure parts of this one. And that gives you a whole new variety of use cases, you as the developer, you as the business customers, on your own way on transforming your business. So we are doing that together with the GSMA, together with 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀, but also together with the other telcos. And this is also a really transformational step of our industry, because in that particular case, we are not competing against ourselves. We are really creating new opportunities and a new market. And this is why the APIs we have announced, for example, in the US, you get them also from Verizon and AT&T. And the ones we have offered in Germany, you get them from Telefonica and Vodafone, because it's all about that you have this generic and unified API and USD developer, you don't have to wonder what's then below the surface and what we have to do to route it into the right network to provide you with the information. And with that, let me also hand it over to one of our partners in crime, and with David from Telefonica. We have that one partner, for example, for the German market also with us, but he will tell us something about Spain and Brazil.
Thank you, Peter. I totally agree with you that this is an industry revolution. We are cooperating at a massive scale to be sure that for the developer, the APIs that we provide are extremely simple to use. You don't need to worry about what country your application is running, because they will work. They follow the same standard and they are available in Azure and other platforms. If you think about it, the telco platform is perhaps one of the last digital platforms that offers APIs. So we were doing this, and we know how to do it because we have all these previous examples of all kinds of platforms that have been APIfied. And the telco platform has a lot of capabilities. And when it becomes a digital platform, enables you to create applications that were not possible before. In our case, we participated with Vodafone and Deutsche Telekom in Germany in the launch of the first 2 APIs. And we also launched in Spain with Vodafone again and Orange, a number of APIs. And in Brazil is a country with more than 200 million customers and users. And there we teamed up with Claro and TIM, who are the other big local telcos in Brazil. So this is, as I said, a global movement. All the telcos also in Asia and in other parts of the world are joining the movement. And overall, this will enable developers to develop a lot more interesting applications.
Thanks a lot, David. That is great to hear that the operators are not competing here. They're coming together and they're providing access for ubiquitous access for the developers. So not only can the developer get it from one operator, he can get it from all operators in the market and the marketplace. That's fantastic news. But this is very new for developers in that sense. So let's explore the use cases, David 𝗦𝗲𝗸𝗻𝗀 from Telefonica. What are you thinking about that these APIs are going to be able to enable for the developers in the future?
Well, first of all, if you have an application or a website that requires login, you can benefit for these APIs, because we have a number of APIs that verify that the login is correct and verify that the customer that is logging in has the right credentials. I think Peter will talk about that later. I can give you a couple of examples just to see the variety of use cases that these APIs enable. For instance, in Brazil, there is a company called 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, who is like an Uber for trucks. So if you're a truck driver and you want to fill up your truck with some loads that you want to ship from one place to another, you just log in the platform and find shippers that are interested in your service, and there you go. There you have the business. It's the digitalization of a very old business. The issue is that sometimes there is some fraud in these platforms, and some of the drivers, just a very small fraction of them, they take the load and just sell it away. The way these APIs help reduce this fraud is by asking the operator if the truck driver is who he says he is. So he will enter his data, and the Know Your Customer API will be called to verify with the mobile operator that this person is who he says he is. And so that if one time they have been they have committed any fraud, next time they cannot be admitted to the platform. And that works for this use case, but for many others where you want to protect the system from people that are abusing it. There are other very different scenarios in the media and entertainment space. For instance, if you're in a stadium watching a basketball match, there's a lot of people there, so the connectivity is under stress. But maybe you want to see the different plays from different angles. So we partnered with 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗶𝗸𝗀, which is a company that creates 360 videos for stadiums, so that from your mobile device, using the QOD API, you can watch the plays from different angles with a quality that is very good and that enables you to really enjoy the game in a totally different way. So that's a complete different use case. Again, the number of use cases is endless. Some of those are very down to earth, or other are more futuristic. But we think we're at the beginning of a new era where applications will be able to do a lot more.
Thank you very much, David. And Peter, from Deutsche Telekom's point of view, what are the use cases these developers are going to get excited about?
So ideally, these are exactly the same use cases as David has pointed them out, because at the end of the day, it's not about differentiation. It's all about that you're independent from what network you are in. You can make use of these use cases and you don't have to care about that. And David could have gone on for probably another hour in additional use cases. Now I have chosen one to explain a little more detail. This is 𝗦𝗲𝗶𝗸𝗀𝗍, because this really annoys me if I consider myself being a typical consumer when I got asked to type in a so-called one-time password. And everyone has experienced that. So you do any kind of transaction, and then you have to either get a code by app or by SMS. So you get that code. You wait for some seconds till you really get it, and then you type it in again. And ideally, you have typed in the right code, or you had to wait too long. You requested a new code. Unfortunately, you get one code. You don't know whether this is now the first code you have requested or the second one. So all these experiences we have already made, and they are super nasty. So isn't there a different way to solve the security challenge? Yes, there is. It's not even different and much more user-friendly. It's even more secure. And with 𝗦𝗲𝗶𝗸𝗀𝗍, we as a telco can clearly provide a feedback on, is that really the number who now wants to do that transaction out of our network and with our information? And this is more secure than a code which was sent to a number, not knowing whether this number was routed in a different direction. So with 𝗦𝗲𝗶𝗸𝗀𝗍, we will have a much better answer. And there's also a short video where you can just see on the left-hand side, the old process, on the right-hand side, the new process. This is pretty boring because after 14 seconds, you see that it still runs on the left-hand side, while the right-hand side, the new API, is already done almost half of the time, less clicks, and with a significant higher user satisfaction.
Thank you very much, Peter. You know, something so simple, so fast, and yet so secure is really going to change quite a lot of the perceptions we have around authentication and the challenges we have around authentication. I mean, I can't remember all the passwords. I can't remember. I've got several apps to do everything. Hopefully, this is really going to speed up productivity out there for developers. Now, David, from Microsoft's point of view, I mean, Microsoft has a huge tool set, available. What use cases are you seeing in Microsoft is going to be valuable from Open Gateway?
Yeah, they are very similar to was already covered by David and Peter, but something that we can see already from our experience this past year with early customers, that we actually see like two major buckets or two major areas, right? One is like the traditional, and I say traditional, it's not traditional, but the enterprise customer who's coming to this API to modernize an existing application. And a lot of the examples that we use today, they are going in that direction, right? So you see anywhere, like as David say, anywhere where you have an authentication, anywhere where you're using location, anywhere where you need something specific from the network, or you need to have a specific quality of service for that network, you have very big possibilities that this API will help you make your existing applications better, right? So, and those we see across every industry. So we talk a lot today here about banking. We see across many other industries in entertainment and many other areas. And it's something that we see every customer asking for. The other big bucket that we see is more, and we see that with any technology actually, right? So first you see the technology as a way to do what you do now better, but then there's a second part of this equation, which is let's do things that we couldn't do before. Let's start creating applications that are not something that we could create before. And that is something that we see directly also coming from, not only from enterprises who are looking at those new businesses, those new applications, or those new revenue streams, but also from a big community of startups who are looking at this API as a way for them to disrupt any particular scenario or business, right? And we have many examples of that too. Just a couple of them, but we have one which is pretty cool, which is actually, in this case, is like a rental car company focused on electric cars. And what they do in their case is that they will deliver the car directly to your door with remote driving. They are called 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗶𝗀𝗧, and they do that. So imagine they do that with remote driving from directly the office, right? So it's not autonomous driving. The advantage of this is that they're able to have these cars delivered super quickly to your door. And because they are using these APIs, they have full adaptation of the network conditions, and they can also change the quality of service of that network to guarantee that they're not going to have any blind spot, or when they have a lot of traffic, that they don't have any hiccup in the coverage, right, in the signal. So super strong use case. That is something that couldn't be done before. The other one that we see also related to quality of service is a holographic presence. So in this case, we have a startup called Matsuko that are using this API to create a holographic remote presence using VR. So you see these scenarios in areas like the metaverse, autonomous driving, remote driving, connected vehicles, connected stadiums, many new scenarios that were just impossible to do before.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you to you all for the insights that you've actually provided today. Certainly 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗶𝗀𝗀, the godfather of 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀, and then David Duval, who's the godfather of Open Gateway, and now David Carmona, the godfather of Azure Programmable Connectivity. It's a really exciting time. Thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed this session.